This is the story of me falling in love with one of the coolest natural playgrounds in the world. I think one of my favorite things about climbing is how varied the style can be. Sometimes you're grabbing on the tiny edges, sometimes you have huge overhanging holds, and sometimes you have to get intimate and stick your fingers, hands, feet, or even entire body into the mountain. This is crack climbing. It's not for everyone, and I think it takes a distinct, slightly masochistic personality to enjoy. I think I actually might be that personality. Jamming your hands and feet at first is painful, awkward, and not only that, you're having to trust all of your own gear that you place into the crack to protect your falls instead of pre-drilled bolts. And by far the most iconic crack climbing area in the world, known for its splitter cracks with totally blank faces, is Indian Creek near Moab, Utah. Since my first time coming here to the desert and being exposed to crack climbing technique 2 years ago, I've done quite a bit of climbing all over, and well, it was all great. I always knew that Indian Creek had something special and that I would be coming back.
My road leads into the desert. You can see it.
So it's November of 2021, and I've convinced two college friends of mine, Aiden and Ezra, to join me on a 5-day trip back to Utah. After weeks of training our endurance and technique at our local gym, we're feeling confident and excited to test ourselves on the iconic cracks of Indian Creek. Our bananas entirely froze. After a painfully cold night, the sun started to rise, illuminating the valley and thawing our frosted campsite and frozen bones. We met up with my brother Raleigh and his girlfriend Mel, who would also be joining us for the rest of the trip. And we didn't waste much time. With the temperature starting to become bearable for climbing, we were eager to get up there. To start out, we climbed some classics. Here is Ezra climbing Super Crack at the Desert, perhaps the most iconic climb in Indian Creek.
Nice, dude. Yeah.
And here is me climbing incredible hand crack, another beautiful hand-sized crack with this difficult 10-foot overhanging section.
Nice, Noah.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Hey Raleigh, what are your thoughts on crack climbing after doing one route so far?
No one wanted to beat me out. That's what my thoughts are.
Then Aiden wanted to spice it up a little bit and climb a big crack using some big boy protection. As the crack size gets bigger towards the top, Aiden is having to jam his entire body in and using a technique that can only be referred to as the worm wiggle to inch his way up. Woo! And my last climb of the day was a hand crack called Blue Sun that by far is one of the most beautiful and inspiring climbs that I've ever done.
Woo! You can take. Wow. That's about as good as climbing gets right there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Unlike Aiden, Ezra now wanted to spice it up by climbing a very hard, small finger crack. An interesting choice for a guy who has some of the bigger fingers of anyone I know. This route is called Way Rambo, and it's graded 512-. By far harder than anything we had climbed so far. We breezed through the easy first half, but then where the cracks started to narrow, Ezra went into what could only be described as a legendary battle. After falling a dozen times, he was finally able to reach a good hold and claw his way to the top of the route.
Tomatoes.
Okay.
Feeling pretty sore and tired from those first few days of climbing, we wanted to do something a little different with our last full day. This peak is called South Six Shooter, and it's an iconic desert tower that rises high above the valley floor. After a steep approach, we set out in 2 rope teams, with Ezra leading the way.
Gotta love the rain, huh? Alright, cool, man. Good luck. Yeah, Aiden. Nice.
To me, one of the ultimate feelings in climbing is when you climb something that has no easy hiking trail around the back. The only way to get to the top is to actually climb. For all 5 of us, this was our first ever desert tower climb. So despite being a relatively easy climb, it still felt like an adventurous and epic climax to our time here.
That, and I was like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah.
Woo! Everyone look here. We'll be able to make it look like super small, like we're on a planet. How was it, man?
It was amazing. It was so beautiful. It's so cool to top out on something like that. You've been on tower when you top out and it's just you standing on it and your rope going down your bladder. You feel like kind of a badass.
But that's not quite the end of the story. Throughout the entire trip, I had been half-heartedly throwing out the idea for my brother Raleigh to do his first lead climb. Doing your first lead climb is scary because you have to 100% trust your gear, a mental strength that takes some time to build. And this was his first time in the area, so I didn't really expect him to go for it. But on our last morning, before leaving, I was surprised and delighted to hear him say, "All right, man, I want to do it."
Yeah, how do you feel?
Pretty bold and impressive for a guy who literally only learned crack climbing technique a couple days ago.
That was it.
This is it.
You did it perfectly.
I knew Noah wasn't gonna let me leave here without it. Fucking dick.
Too many horses and mysterious forces. What you don't know is you are the luckiest man. You're the luckiest man.
Throughout this trip back here, this place has grown to occupy a special place in my heart. There's a certain aura and energy that the desert has that is hard to describe, but it's unique and potent. Often while I'm editing footage from these types of adventures and looking back on my time in these incredibly beautiful natural places, I find myself feeling nostalgic. Trying not to be too sappy here, so I'll just let some footage play out for you with some music that tries to capture what I feel for this place. Thanks for watching.